Alright, what you see here is a Hunter Bridgeport ceiling fan. It is the newer redesigned version, not the version from the 2000s era, as you can clearly tell. This fan I had for a little while because I was gonna give it away to my neighbor, which is basically partially the main reason why I got it. But I also figure I can get a video out of it before I give it to them. So yeah. Now, what they're going to be using it for is they have a patio that they built, like a sunroom, basically. So it's like a shed, but it's also a sunroom at the same time. And they've been thinking about putting a fan there, so I figured I mentioned that this would actually be a good fan to give to them. So I figured I'd get a video of it before I actually end up giving it away. And also to see how powerful it is in a hotter environment like this. Since I've already tested one of these and they didn't make me public. It was in a bronze finish though. So I figured I'd try this one out in a hotter environment to see how well it performs in a more hot space, since where I tested it was with AC and such, so it was kind of not the fairest test, especially if it's going to be outdoors and such. So yeah. Now this fan is from the 32nd week of 2016, which I honestly think it's pretty close to around the same time that me and my mom met those neighbors to begin with, actually. It was like around the time that we first moved in here. It was like a few months after we moved to this apartment, so it's kind of convenient that this fan was made around the exact same time that we met them. So, yeah. And I figured I'd get this one in the textured black finish because the bronze one looks nice, but I feel like the black will definitely hold up better outside or in a covered area over the years instead of a bronze fan. That's just my opinion. You know, I just know sometimes the bronze fans can look a bit yucky over the years. Same thing with white fans, but black fans usually hold up pretty well. Or just any black stuff I've seen outside, they tend to hold up pretty well, so I think I'd do this. Also, it kind of goes with the bronze look they have in there. It's almost black looking anyways. But the oak blades definitely will match the oak cabinets and the flooring that they have there. Not 100%, but it's pretty close. So, yeah. Now, say what you want about the newer Hunters. Yeah, they're not as good as the older ones used to be, but they definitely have improved their quality over the recently. I mean, back in their early 2010s era, they were really not that good of a quality, even worse. Even like older Hampton Bays and Hard Reef fans outperformed them and such. But they definitely have improved their quality recently, so they definitely are starting to make a comeback. This one's from 2016, so it's about right around that time that they were starting to make a comeback. But I do know it's more of the higher priced fans that tend to be the better performance. This one was like 120, so it's one of the more cheaper priced fans. But it still definitely does the job without a question. So, yeah, and it does have the newer Hunter tag, which I like the look of it. But what I don't like is that it's actually kind of cheap. This is pretty bendy on both sides, so it can break easily and such. But and I actually do like these newer switch caps for them. It definitely gives like a nice antique look in a sense, even though it isn't an antique fan. And there's the pull chain. So the fan. But yeah, I really do like the finish though too. The textured black. It's definitely a nice finish for an outside area and such. And they didn't need a light, so I figured this would be the perfect fan since they already have 4 accent lights on each corner. And I'm using the 2-inch download that it came with. There was a 3-inch one that it had as well, but I figured I'd use the 2-inch one just to see how low it hangs. I'm gonna give them both downloads, but I think I'd do it with this just to get an idea how it hangs. It definitely hangs a tiny bit lower than a fan that's flush mounted, but it's just what they're doing nowadays for Hunter fans. If you want a flush mounted fan, you'd have to get an actual hugger fan basically. But they do have quite a bit of models that are flush mounted, so it does work out in a sense. But yeah, so let me go ahead and start off on the look. The one thing I'm actually kind of not the biggest fan of is the pull chain being more down here and up there. I do feel it's good for the sense of like not putting so much strain on the chain when you pull it. However, I do feel like it can get in the way a bit if you were to put a light kit on it. That's the only complaint I have with it, but it really depends if you use it with a light or not. It does, and it has obviously plastic blades. I never really remember seeing these as a kid. I mean, I probably remember seeing them in the catalog, but I just don't remember them too well. They look a lot like the Summer Breezes from the 2000s era and such, so just outdoor rated for the most part. I mean, there was a lot of Hunter fans in the 2000s era that looked like the Summer Breeze from the 2000s, but like under different names, so probably was the case with this one. No, I don't think the 2000s version came in the textured black finish. I know it came in bronze and white, but I don't think it came in this finish. It's moving decent there on the low speed. It's nothing crazy. I mean, it's just a low speed, so that is to be expected. But yeah, I'm wondering if I might give them a longer chain to use on this fan. They might just leave it like this. I'm not sure if they're gonna be putting like a loss control for it and such. Probably be for the better. That way, you don't have to be pulled by the chain all the time. Like maybe like a 3-speed wall control or something. But I mean, it's going to be kind of installed a bit high up because there are cabinets that are going to be pretty close to it. So just so it doesn't hit it, it's going to have it more closer to the ceiling. So they could. The guy knows how to install fans, anyways. He built the shed himself, basically, to hope that sunroom. But when I do a video of it installed, I'll definitely show the outside and all of that. But he built it to match the house, and he definitely did a pretty good job doing it. But he definitely knows like what to do if he needs to like put a download on it. He's one of those handy guys and such that knows how to build stuff. But I think I just give it to them just because they've been good neighbors to me and my mom over the past few years. So this is kind of like my way of saying things. And also gearing them towards getting a better quality outdoor fan. He does know that it needs to be an outdoor rated fan, not just some indoor one. So I figured I'd try to gear him towards something that was a little bit better than like a Home Depot branded one or something like that. Or like the Home... I mean, there are some that are decent, but I literally just got around to testing one of these in the Dominican Republic, and he said he wanted something that was black, or bronze at least for outside. And I figured this will just match perfectly, so I figured this will be the better one to go with. So, alright, now to move it up to medium. I do wish at least this fan could be flush mounted. I feel like there's probably a way that you could do it. You'd have to like use like that flush mount kit that they would use on the other earlier Hunter fans from the 2000s with the triangle canopies and such. But I mean, at the same time, where it's going, at least it has a shorter down runs versus not being able to have a shorter one at all and such. Now, at first, I did not really like the newer looks that Hunter gave their fans with the switch cap, switch housing, and the blade arms. Certain ones, I still don't like them as much as the older ones, but they're actually, but I've gotten used to them over the years and such. I mean, they're not as bad looking as I thought before. Well, I won't say they're bad looking since I was so used to the older look, so it just kind of looked a bit off to me, but seeing them installed in other areas and such, they actually do look pretty nice in certain locations. It really depends if the area is a bit updated looking or not. If it's more out of date looking, then that's different. Like, and I don't mean out of date like 80s and 90s. Like if it's like out of date looking like early 2000s type, then I feel like it would look more out of place and such. But it really depends where you're putting it. Now for outdoors, I feel like when you install a fan outside, it really doesn't matter because it's outside and such. Though it does depend on what type of decor you have outside or in that area that you're installing an outdoor rated fan and such. I feel like that does depend on whether the fan should look modern or somewhat more contemporary and such. This one's kind of a mixture of both, and that the inside is a mixture of both at the same time. Though the outside definitely looks older, so Yeah, let me go ahead and move the fan up to the high speed. I forgot to also mention that on the medium speed. Definitely is pushing a decent breeze as well. Now, I remember when I tested one in the Dominican Republic, it wasn't like 90s, early 2000s hunter air movement, but it was still decent. It was almost as close as it, but it wasn't exactly close to it. Now, as you can see, it's not the sluggish hunter high speed that you'd see on some of the hunter fans from the early 2010s. Like, it's more specifically the Home Depot ones, like the Oakhurst or the Highberries and such. So it does have a decent high speed to it. And what I can say about this high speed is that it's not as fast as like the early or like the 2000s era ones, the 90s ones, or like the 80s ones. Without a question, it's not as fast as those. But at the same time, I do know a lot of fan companies have been reducing the high speeds on their models because some people don't like fans that go extremely fast on the high speed. So they have some models that don't go as fast, and then they have some models that go faster. Like with Hunter, what they've been doing recently, they have some models that have like the sure speed, which guarantees that, like, for those who really like the high, fast speed and such, they get those models. And the people who just want a simple air mover, they get something like this. Not to say that it doesn't go fast at high speed. It does have a decent high speed to it. It's just not the fastest I've seen. But it's definitely is cooling the basement down pretty well. And it's also like 85 degrees today. So it's not hot, but it's enough to make you sweat a little bit. So for like a day like that, sunny out, it'll definitely move the air around quite a bit. And they aren't expecting it to cool them down completely. They just need something to move some air. Just more like a refreshing breeze type thing, not like insane air movement. Cause it is for outside too, so they kind of want it to have like natural airflow, but not to make it feel like that it's overbearing. Like I was mentioning that he could even put an industrial, like a Hampton Bay one in there. He said that he had seen that, but he figured out, but he doesn't need something that powerful for the sunroom and such. So yeah, and I was thinking an original would really look nice inside of there, and I showed him one, and he thought it would look nice as well. The only thing he was afraid of is the weight of it, which I definitely understand. Plus, having to get up there like once a year just to oil it would definitely be a pain. But yeah, at the end of the day, he just needs something to move some air and such. And the finish on this is pretty close to an original at least, so at least you got to get that look in a sense, especially with the textured black finish, giving it somewhat of an antique look. It's well, not antique look, but this is the same finished combo. Yeah, it really does push a decent amount of breeze though, especially for a newer hunter. Alright, let me shut off and do spin down. Man, I can definitely say it outperforms those Hunter 5-minute fans that they did. I don't know if they still make those or not, but like I know Lowe's had them, and the same thing with Home Depot. Like the one that I tested, that I got off the display outdoor 5-minute fan from Lowe's, this definitely outperforms that without a question. Not, I want to say it's a lot more powerful than the 5-minute fan, but it's definitely quite a bit more powerful. But there is definitely a significant difference, though, without a question. Now, on the build quality of the fan, I will say it's definitely not the same quality like the 2000s era Hunters or the 80s and 90s one. It's definitely noticeably cheaper. However, it still is pretty well made, especially considering newer fan standards, where a lot of them are cheaper made these nowadays and such. So it's definitely still pretty well made fan. It's just not as good as what Hunter used to be. However, it definitely is a lot better quality than what you can find like at a home center, like a home Harbor Breeze, Hampton Bay, and stuff. But yeah, it definitely is better out there if you're looking for an outdoor fan. But if you just need someone to move some air around, it's definitely wouldn't be a bad one. And that's why I got this for them. Basically, I figured this would be a good one to give to them and such. But yeah, it's come to a complete stop. And now let me go ahead and show it on reverse. But yeah. Definitely think it would look pretty cool if like a schoolhouse globe though, even though they don't really need it. I mean, if I was putting that there, I would like if it was my place, I'd probably put it like there and such of a schoolhouse, but it'd be kind of pointless. But I think it would just look cool if anything, but not really necessary. But yeah, it definitely performs almost. It's just a little bit weaker than like your older Hunter fans. Definitely performs about. I'd say it definitely performs more than the Coastal Breeze though, without a question. So it's not like weaker than the Coastal Breeze at least. But it's just not as powerful as like your typical Hunter fan from the 2000s, 90s, and 80s and such. But it's definitely nothing compared. Like it's definitely nowhere near the poor quality of like the early 2010s Hunters and such, where they had a very slow high speeds. This was definitely a step up from that without a question. And it does a good job on reverse as well. So yeah, and that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for more videos to come.